which is learned helplessness. This was another thing I stumbled upon during, so we're talking about July, August sort of time. I think there was a name for like a mental state where you sort of, when things keep sort of unpleasant things keep happening, or you keep getting responses of the same sort of nature, you tend to give up, and you can't try and change it, even though you can do. Oh, sorry, excuse me. But yeah, like even though you can change it, the like reinforced negative situation makes you feel like you're basically stuck in it in the same sort of negative reinforcement cycle. The best way I could describe it is using that clip off The Chase where Mark goes,
"Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. I give up. Well played, guys."
I mean, that is basically learned helplessness. It doesn't matter. I give up. Well played, guys. And the more extreme of learned helplessness, the quicker Mark would say that. If you know what I mean. Like the quicker he gives up, the more learned helplessness he has.
"Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. I give up. Well played, guys."
So that. I mean, that's the simplest or most relatable way I've found to describe it. But it also comes across with people who are addicted to substances. Like an EMS questionnaire from Jeffrey Young measures 15 schemas in 75 questions. Each question has a 1 being doesn't describe me correctly, 6 being it describes me completely correctly. And you can see the level of learned helplessness in non-addicts versus addicts. And addicts have a more higher form of learned helplessness, which is quite interesting. These are the 15 schemas were identified. But yeah, this is another thing: pessimism versus slight optimism. And I'll get into some of the communities that I've been in or are sort of around online about drug recovery, and how some like subreddits and stuff. Well, people tend to feed into themselves this negative cycle, and I don't know if they feel like they're helping each other, but in some ways they're not really helping each other because they're just sort of feeding a sort of pessimistic attitude. And I think sometimes just having a slight little bit of optimism goes a long way. Because there were times where I thought it was, sort of down and out, and I'm like, we're never going to come back from this. But sometimes I just had to sort of believe it would get even slightly better for it to, and then given enough time, it did eventually get better, and it has gotten better. And I'm here right now, and I've gotten over it for the most part. I think just having a little bit of optimism. I mean, don't get me wrong, not blind optimism, not like doesn't give you free rein to just go and do whatever you want because it's going to be fine. It's not about that. It's more about just leaning slightly optimistic, thinking that things are going to get better, and oftentimes they do. But yeah, there's people, addicts and that with more high levels of learned helplessness show a more sort of pessimistic attitude. There's other sort of studies been done on things like cocaine dependence, other drugs. People have a high level of learned helplessness, but it can apply to a few different scenarios, in my opinion. Things like climate change. We get this rhetoric spouted that it's too late, can't be done, no point, let's just give up. But that is learned helplessness, in my opinion. I think it can change. It just people are just too pessimistic that it can't. I mean, to say it can't change is just bollocks, in my opinion. It can change, and it will change if we make changes. How big of the changes do we need to make? I mean, that's not a topic for this video. I think even small changes can make a pretty big difference. Not like with recycling, but I'll get on to just like society in general. Because there's big things we've got to tackle that which make up the bigger picture. But yeah, to say climate change can't be stopped or prevented or slowed down, or that's just not true at all. And like I say, with the pessimistic reinforcement, people say that to other people, and then they think, oh, there's no point, let's just fuck it off. But it could also apply to things like diagnoses, uh, mental, not just mental, like physical things. Um, I'm not saying that things are going to be all right just because you think they are, but when I was sort of in a bad spot, I had to rule in things that could potentially get better because I had always ruled out, oh, no, it's never going to get better. And if I'd ruled that out, things were never going to get better because I didn't believe they would do. It's about ruling the possibilities in and thinking, oh, it actually could happen. Yeah, it could get better. It's the possibility's there. That's what I'm trying to say. The possibility is there for it to happen. But if you don't think it will be, if you've ruled that out and it's off the table, it's never really going to get better, is it? But it applies to other things like dating, finding a job, being stuck in a relationship, like quitting smoking, vaping, which we'll touch on later on. Drug addiction, we just touched on cocaine, but also watching these experts these experts and influencers discuss your problems. Um, Sort of online. I will make a specific video on this, but I was in the same place looking at um, sort of mental health problems and like these videos which I thought were helping, but uh, which they may have been in the short term, but over the long term, I think where it may have actually been damaging because there's quite a lot of doomer mentality about mental health and sort of. I mean, we like consuming this sort of negative thing because it sort of relates to us because we're going through it. But in the end, I had to weigh up and I was like, is this actually helping me or not? Is this being useful in the short term? Yes, but at the end of it, and once I've seen the tactics that have been used and sort of like with my boss and how they can it looks similar to some of these other online influencers. Now I've had the tactics used against me, and like I've seen like a lot of these influencers, they're just full of shit, really. And especially when it comes down to the science, they're sort of just telling you things that you want to hear, not necessarily things that you actually need to hear, which is what I'm going to cover in the science episode coming in the next couple of chapters. But yeah, that is it for this portion on Learn Helplessness. The next one is the last piece of the puzzle, which is